Now to America. And first, my favorite moment of Donald Trump's State of the Union address.
You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Let's bring in the center of American experiment president, John Hinderaker. John, thank you for joining us, as always, on the show.
Glad to be with you.
Now, let's talk all things State of the Union, because that was my absolute favorite moment. I personally think that the Democrats did themselves a massive disservice by being confrontational over issues that the majority of Americans support. And one of them is when we're talking about immigration and getting rid of illegal aliens who have maybe committed crimes. We've had a referendum basically on that from an election. For them to be having these temper tantrums, how does that play out in the media?
Well, I think it plays out very poorly. I think people like Ilhan Omar, you saw her screaming, and on the television, you could hear her screaming, but you couldn't hear what she was saying. So it came across as just incoherent, whereas, of course, you could understand President Trump. And the particular issue he was talking about there, which is let's get the criminal illegal aliens out of the country, almost everybody agrees with that. So I think this was one of many instances where the Democrats looked really very bad, both in terms of their behavior and also in terms of what side they were taking on the issue.
Yeah, and it's going to leave themselves vulnerable because it's one of these issues that we know that the polling says there is some debate over the mechanism by which you do remove illegal aliens and particularly criminals. But when it comes down just to the notion, the ideology behind protecting the borders and making sure that they are gotten rid of, how you do it, maybe it's up for debate. But the American people time and time again are being polled on this, and we know that they want these people kicked out of the country.
Well, not only have they been polled, Jack, but we had an election on this. I mean, everybody knows that one of Donald Trump's signature issues is let's close the southern border, which he has done and which virtually everyone approves of, and let's clear out the illegal aliens, especially the ones who have committed crimes. And again, that is what the American people have voted for.
All right, John, I want to talk about Hillary Clinton now because she has been testifying at this Epstein inquiry, but there was some drama when someone leaked a photo of her not looking too happy. And let's take a look at how furious the media was.
So there has been a back and forth, Chris, over the course of the last half an hour about a picture that was tweeted out of Hillary Clinton sitting in this closed door deposition here in Chappaqua. It was tweeted by Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, who's one of the Republican members on that committee. I think we can show you the picture on the screen. There's nothing crazy to see here. It's Hillary Clinton sitting at a table flanked by lawyers and, of course, Republicans and Democrats who are in the room. The fact that they are tweeting it, though, I think is notable. And that is, of course, in defiance with what the spirit of this deposition is, which is being closed doors, being private, being behind the scenes. When these pictures were tweeted out and disseminated by conservative media, it prompted a Hillary Clinton staffer to come out to the pool cameras to say, OK, we are pausing the deposition because these photos have been put out.
Now, John, that is going to be one of my favorite photos of all time. She looks miserable. And of course, she later did a press conference where she bemoaned having to spend 4 hours justifying her links, denying. However, we do know that Ghislaine Maxwell was at her daughter's wedding. So these denials, I think there's a little bit of photographic evidence which maybe makes them a little unbelievable.
Well, we'll see, Jack. I mean, this is really a tempest in a teapot. As you said, I mean, that picture, yeah, there's Hillary Clinton sitting there. The deposition was videotaped. Ultimately, the videotape is going to be made public, probably with some edits. So it's not like it was a big secret or, being done in hiding. When it was done, Hillary came out and did a press conference right there in front of the building. Now, the Democrats say that it was contrary to House rules for Congresswoman Boebert to take that picture and send it out to somebody. That may well be true. I don't know. Obviously, the rules should be followed, but this really is a very minor controversy.
Yeah, and you can hear the sneering in their language as well. The phrase was conservative media shared it out as if they would not report if it was a leak from the other side. What are they saying? That progressive media just ignored the story? If the photo got out, what good journalist would ignore it?
It's completely faux outrage. And of course, they put it up right there on, what is that, MS Now?
They published it themselves.
They were happy to put up the photo.
That's such a good point. Well, let's move on to Scott Jennings. God, he's so good. He's bloody good. But a tense moment on CNN where Scott Jennings points out that the left is actually spreading conspiracy theories about Donald Trump yet again.
You have Democrat after Democrat after Democrat, even Hillary Clinton just a little while ago, all too happy to go on television and cast aspersions on his character using this idea that, well, his name appears in the files. They're trying to mislead the American people. It's the Steele dossier all over again. That's all this is.
No,
Let's just throw out some things and hope it stakes, even though there's no evidence whatsoever.
Hold on. The Steele dossier is completely unrelated to what we're talking about
here. It
is,
because it was a bunch of uncorroborated crap, and you're trying to stick it to the guy.
I am not. No, that's not what I'm doing.
The Democrats. The Democrats.
The thing, if Donald Trump is in fact the whistleblower, and it is shown to be the whistleblower exclusively in these files, why did he fight so hard to prevent Congress from passing this law in the first place?
Oh, John, did you see the squirming when the Steele dossier was mentioned? It was obviously, this is a catastrophe in modern journalism that media outlets took that dossier. It was unproven. We now know that there was a malicious intent behind all of the complete baseless allegations. And there is Scott Jennings reminding them, hey, you guys don't have the best track record when it comes to unproven allegations. And that host, she squirmed. She goes, it's nothing to do with the Steele dossier.
Well, the Democrats have desperately been trying to smear President Trump with Jeffrey Epstein, even though we know that Epstein hated Trump. Epstein was a Democrat. The large majority of his friends and associates were Democrats. And the Democrats keep saying, well, Trump's name is mentioned in the files. His name is mentioned in the files. Well, you know who else's names are mentioned in the files? Everyone from Bill Clinton and George W. Bush to Beyonce and Cher. Michelle Obama is mentioned in the files. Fidel Castro, Elvis Presley, and Pope John Paul II. They're all mentioned in these Epstein files. And so that is completely meaningless. And by the way, I think Trump was right not to want this dump of millions of pages of, nonsense and hearsay, and in some cases, outright lies being reproduced here. Innocent people can very easily be hurt by that. That's why we don't normally just dump out raw investigation files, but we've done it. Trump signed the bill, and there's nothing in it that is disparaging in any meaningful way to Donald Trump.
And John, this is the main point. I'm so glad you mentioned this because you have more ethics than the entire organization bundled together. That question at the end of the grab that we just played for those watching at home was, well, if this made Donald Trump look so good, which it kind of is in a lot of regards, then why didn't he just dump everything? And in what we didn't play in that clip, well, Scott Jennings came back and says the reason that he has always said is because the dossier is going to ruin people's lives with allegations that cannot be proven, some that are made up, some speculation. And the journalists don't seem to understand this because they look at everything through, is it advantageous to my side? If so, we'll release it and the impact be damned.
Well, Bill Gates may be an example of that. There's an email from Jeffrey Epstein in which he says that Bill Gates caught a venereal disease from a prostitute. Bill Gates vehemently denies that. And now are we assuming that Jeffrey Epstein is a reliable source? I don't think so, but no, millions and millions of people have seen that. And that's a good example of how reckless it is to just dump millions of pages of raw, unverified allegations into the public domain. Trump was right about that.
Well said. Well, John Hinderaker, thank you so much. And thanks for sharing your insights as always.